welcome to Nice News, the show celebrating all things positive. I'm Stephen Surridge, aka Mr. Happiness 2000, a professional happiness coach.
And I'm your co-presenter, Kaie Cozier, aka Kaie. And I was told to say that I was Barbados's first weather girl. I don't know why my friends thought that was important, but I'm letting you know that now. That's me. That's me. Thank you, Ian. Thank you.
You've got to celebrate these things.
That is true. That is true. That is so true. How have you been this week, Stephen?
I always have a good week, but yeah, I've been busy enjoying the prep around this show. But yeah, I always have a good week. I always have a good day. I make sure I do. Yeah.
Good.
Yes, so across the next 30 minutes, we are going to be celebrating life and all things positive, bringing you nice, happy news stories from around the world and sharing with you guys the happy things that you've been up to this week to make us all feel really good. So let's go over to Kaie now for our first segment of tonight's Nice News.
All about positivity, people. You know that we have championed positivity here on Nice News in our previous broadcast to you. A recent survey from the University of East London shows that consuming positive news can lead to people accepting each other a bit more of a sense of community and motivation to contribute towards positive change. All of these things are so very relevant in today's world and with everything that's been going on. The study is called Publishing the Positive, and these positive news stories can help people unite. They give them the potential to believe that they can actually make a difference. Not surprisingly, they said that if they consumed lots of negative news, then they had a fairly negative outlook on the world and a negative outlook towards their fellow man. So in these particular times where the media landscape is so very full of, all the bad stuff that's happening in the world and not focusing on the good behind it, let's get involved in some more positive news. Let's empower people to respond better to their problems and live happier, more positive lives.
Yeah, that's basically what this show is about. We all know that if you feed a child junk food, after a while the body implodes. It's the same with the mind. If you constantly feed and focus on negativity, the mind implodes. And that's what a lot of the mental health issues in the world are about now. So it's about being conscious of where you focus the brain, focus your mind, focus your attention. And we're going to help you do that in the next half hour. And yeah, you can start enjoying life and seeing the best in life rather than the worst of life. No, brilliant, Kaie.
Well, talking about the best in life, this story I thought was absolutely amazing. I love it. A, because it contains jet skis and I love anything to do with water sports. And B, it shows how creative we can be when we put our minds to it. So, COVID and Corona-19 have put paid to just about any sort of form of socializing. And that includes school graduations, because a lot of the kids aren't actually going back to school until September. Well, one school in Key West, Florida thought, come hell or high water, and you'll see why I use that term in a minute, come hell or high water, we are having a graduation ceremony. So what did they do? They had their graduation ceremony on the water. That's right, the students dressed up in their caps and gowns, but they had on protective gear, life jackets and that sort of thing. And they rode up to their principal on jet skis to collect their diplomas. Now, everything was socially distanced. The principal, who's a guy called Tom Rompella, he was on another boat with one of those extended stick things that you hang, you pick stuff up with. He handed out the diploma with those. He was on a boat. It was all socially distanced and everybody had the greatest fun. And he said that the ceremony plays on a theme that they teach students throughout their time at the school, which is that no matter what comes your way, no challenge is too great or too small to be overcome. And through creativity, hard work, and just a little ingenuity, any challenge can be overcome.
But yeah, no, this is a fine example. So much of the stress around this lockdown situation has been people fighting what's happening. And, they're so used to their routine, and where it's disrupted, they're like, no, I want it to be this, and it isn't. Whereas if you just choose to embrace life, life can become so much more adventurous, so much more fun, as this story shows. And the big thing is, what kind of looks like something going wrong, a crisis or a tragedy, becomes a really good memory.
Yes.
So it's about embracing life. It is so, yeah.
Yeah, so when everybody else is saying, well, my graduation ceremony was in a school hall, somebody was like, yeah, we rocked up on a jet ski to get our diplomas. I'm just loving that story.
So we said last week during this lockdown, with so much time on our hands, now is the time for us adults to start being a little self-indulgent and start having some fun. Getting nostalgic, we mentioned alongside the kids from Fame, Lego and AFOL, or adult fans of Lego, and how adults across the globe are getting together and getting creative with those little coloured bricks. One of our audience members, Martin, who's here with us tonight, he said he was going to venture up in the loft and get out the Lego bricks. So let's find out what Martin got up to.
First of all, I found a lot more than I seem to remember having. For those who were with us last week, we have kept, I'm now 66, and my wife and I have kept all the Lego that our sons, who are now 31 and 33, had when they were small. And we've kept them in big plastic boxes, the Lego, not the sons.
Yeah.
Up in the attic, in the hope that one day they might have some grandchildren.
Show us it, Martin. Let's see
Come
this.
on, let's see.
I have to
see.
You've got us
to
tense of anticipation.
scale. The measurements and proportions are all correct according to the dimensions of a mini moat I found online.
Okay. Wow.
Let's see.
Here is my.
Okay.
How about that?
Oh my
That's really good. How long did that take you to make?
God!
You want to know? 3.5 hours. Most of that time was spent looking in these giant boxes for all these sort of small bits down the side here and all. But
That's a very
I
mature
love
thing to do,
what-
make the bricks match colour, isn't it?
I know. Well,
And not only that, but Martin has managed to incorporate the national colours on the Bajan flag, the blue and the gold.
Exactly.
Oh, Martin, that is precious. That is precious. That is absolutely
cool.
brilliant. Yes.
I've put the rest of the Lego back in the big plastic boxes, ready to go upstairs, back into the attic for another 10 years. But I'm looking for somewhere to keep this somewhere accessible so I can see it and
I think you should.
Yeah. So, Martin, I've got to ask, did you drop any of the bricks on the floor and stand on them? Because that's really painful.
I was very happy for the inspiration to make this and also very pleased with the results. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Did it bring you joy, Martin? That was the main thing. Did
Oh,
the actual...
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent 3.5 hours and I didn't realise I'd spent 3.5 hours. It didn't at all. So it was very therapeutic.
Let's hear from Kaie then some more nice news.
Yeah, well, going back to nostalgia and remembering, I'm what the Caribbean people call a grandmother's child, in that I spent most of my growing up years with my grandparents. And some of my friends actually call me grandma because some of the stuff I come out with, it sounds like an old lady. But the reason I'm telling you this is because one of the things, many things she used to say to me was, rejection is God's protection. And she would normally say this after I'd gone to her and said, look, you know what, Grandma, I applied for this job, or I did this, and the outcome wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I'd be all caught up in my feelings of being upset, being a little bit embarrassed, maybe not feeling good enough. And she'd always say, sweet girl, rejection is God's protection. And it took me a while to work out that what she was actually saying to me is, you may think that you want this, but the universe, i.e. in her mind, God, was saying, this is not for you. So it's saving you from something that isn't for you, but saving you for something that is so much better. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten to see what she means. You know, when you're in a relationship or a job and something doesn't go right, it's very easy to feel despondent. And you know what? You're allowed to feel despondent. What you're not allowed to do is think that that's how you have to be defined, by your feelings of guilt, anger, hurt, embarrassment, whatever. know that if you want something, but the universe doesn't give it to you, it's not because you as a human being are inadequate. It's because the universe has something much, much better awaiting you.
No, Kaie, this is fantastic. This is such a core part of the happiness coaching I teach. That, do you believe this is just a random universe where you're just like inconsequential, almost like the Newtonian concept of the universe? Or are we all part of the one, like, God force, the God energy? It's a kind universe. We're meant to get what we want, and we're guided towards what we want. If we can dwell so much on rejection and failure, and it can strip us of our energy, take years, rob us of time and years. Whereas if you think, if you don't get the job you want, or if you don't get the date you want, if you just kind of, okay, there's something better waiting. That wasn't what I really wanted. It might have been a really toxic work environment that I've been prevented from going into, or that person that I thought was amazing it was all just a veneer, and we weren't ideally suited. And rather than wasting all this time and suffering, finding that out, you've just been diverted away to something better. If it takes trust, it takes faith. But if you make that your mindset, life becomes so much more adventurous and joyous and fun.
It does. And just to go back to something we were talking earlier, we were talking about the negativity of the news. We've actually got Sarah on the line, and I hope she's still there with us. Sarah. The reason I'm calling out Sarah, and not in a bad way, I promise you.
I really hope not.
No, darling, that would never be the case. But Sarah has been going to these, the demonstrations, the Black Lives Matter demonstrations in central London. Now, I've known Sarah since she and her sisters were toddlers. So the other day when I went out and saw her and her sister armed with her Black Lives Matter banners, I was more than a little chuffed. And we got to talking, and she was giving me some alternative insight into what had been reported in terms of...
All we've had is negativity, isn't it?
We've heard negativity. Now, Sarah told us about how the good stuff that some of the demonstrators were doing at the demonstration. Sarah, do you want to enlighten us a bit more? I know you've told me, but I'd like you to tell everybody else about the good stuff you guys were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the positivity that I've taken out from the protests is definitely something that has impacted me, like, in general, in these times where I feel like when you look at the media, you feel so much, I wouldn't say hate, but I think sadness that inequality still happens. And, and I feel like the media does give you a lot of toxicness. Sorry, if that's even a word.
It is now.
But yeah, no, I made the really hard decision of really sat down with my sister and decided to go to the protests after getting tested. When we got tested, all negative, so we made our way to the protests. And I think when you're on your way there, you feel this sense of anger that an injustice has been made. But when I got there, I realized that this was so much more than just anger. I saw so much happiness that we were standing, because I, for one, I'm not black. I'm an ethnic minority. I'm actually Arab. But I don't classify myself as white either. But it was, you get to sense of solidarity. You're standing there with a bunch of people who are honestly grateful that you're there and standing for one cause and standing for an injustice that's happened, and it's really, really sad. And you get so many people just turning around to you and be like, thank you for coming. And you go, you shouldn't have to thank me. I'm here to stand with you. Mm-hmm. And that's really touching. But as well as that, I saw all these random acts of kindness. And I know we spoke about that last week as well.
Yes.
We saw random acts of kindness which also fuels you to make these random acts of kindness too. So it was a case of whenever I pulled out my hand sanitizer, I was making sure to give everyone around me, despite me not knowing them at all, be like, would you like some? Would you like some? Making sure that people have masks. So I carried spare masks in my bag. I know I had spare masks lying around. And a lot of people did, and they were just handing them out and saying, would you like a mask? It's free, please take one. And these were handmade masks. People had sat down and made these masks for hours, and they were handing them out. They were handing out gloves, and some of them were handing out like wrapped food, and then making sure they're all sanitized. And I think there was a real sense of community, and we forget that sometimes, especially in isolation. We've been so in our own bubbles, we forget that there's an outside world, and we forget that there's all these people around us.
Well, yeah, what you believe makes or breaks your life.
That is true.
100%, I agree.
And if you're believing what you've been told by a negative influence, that can cripple you.
Yeah.
No,
Sarah, darling, thank you so
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so important to focus on the positive and the good things happening in our lives, because like a muscle, by doing so, you train the brain to be more and more positive. So we've chosen this week, every week we're going to have a little topic of the week, our happy topic of the week. We are asking you, despite the lockdown, what is the best thing that has happened to you this week? I'll start with you, Kaie. What is the best thing that's happened to you, Kaie?
Oh, what you mean other than Martin's Mini Moke, which has really brought back so many memories. I've got a couple I'll share with you quickly. Last week was my youngest niece's first birthday, and she had a little party. They live in Barbados, and it was so good to see pictures of her in her little princess dress and her little tiara, you know, toddling around and bossing everybody around as they do at that age. So that was the first one. And the second one was really quite humbling. I got a message yesterday from somebody that I used to work with who had seen a recording of last week's show. And, you know, this is somebody that I always thought of very strong, very, you know, stoic. And they basically let me know that the show really impacted them. It made them laugh. It made them cry. They admitted that they were going through a fairly rough time at the moment, but the show actually made them feel better. And that actually reduced me to tears. But it's also quite humbling and lovely to know that there's one person that's been impacted in that way. So yeah, that was my good stuff for the week. What about you?
Yeah, no, the power of positivity. I would keep this short because we're going to go to our audience in a moment. My brother, who, how shall I say, he's a colourful character, made some choices in his life that have kind of upset others around him. But he introduced us to his 3-year-old son.
Oh, lovely.
I've obviously only seen the photos because of lockdown and that, but it's really nice to see him, you know, happy with a kind of focus. I did ask him, I said, how does this make you feel? And he said, I feel really happy and positive.
Good.
Because he's got that focus in his life now. So
good.
Yeah, I've got some more of my family members on the line.
It's a Stephen family affair tonight.
It is. So Debbie, if you can unmute the mic so we can hear you.
Debbie.
Hi.
Hello.
This is my gorgeous sister and my gorgeous nieces.
And do the gorgeous nieces have a name, or are they just your gorgeous nieces?
Yeah, I'm Anae and I'm Chloe.
Hello, Anae and Chloe. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
We're a
meet
beautiful
you.
family. We're a beautiful family, aren't we? I'm there. So,
Where did you come from then, Stephen?
the spaceship. So you guys are always up to stuff, but what has stood out for you this week then, in the lockdown? What have you done that has been the best thing?
I think the best thing, I've got to say overall for me, is spending quality time with these two. They're obviously teenagers, 18 coming on 19 now, so normally they'd be out going around all over the place. So spending good quality time with them has been the ultimate best.
Oh, that's sweet.
They're always out clubbing.
That's me every week.
Okay.
What else have you done then? Because you do loads, and we got some photos to show.
Paddleboarding and kayaking, we've been doing a lot, which has been fun.
Wow, more water stuff. That's great.
Because the weather's been really good, hasn't it? So
Yes.
it.
And we've ordered another kayak as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've been very
Oh my gosh, the kayak queens.
So come down south and you can have a go.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
you do not need to tell me twice. Once it's named water, I'm there.
So
That's
you
good
guys
then.
have been doing what we've been talking about then. That the universe has presented us with what some people see as a problem, but you've seen it as an opportunity, and you've just
Yeah.
no time to have fun. Because you've been watching all the Disney Plus films, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Marvels.
Thank
And
you.
what have you
Thanks
watched?
to you, Steve.
I know, I'm a good uncle. And the Mandalorian as well, haven't you?
Yeah,
So,
with Baby
Okay.
Yoda, so cute.
Baby Yoda. So I've been
Makes it.
ingratiating them into the ways of the Force. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Oh, but yeah. So are you gonna have a positive memory of this lockdown then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I've always I've just retired as well, so I've been very lucky that at the same time I've been able to spend quality time with them, and it's made me think there's a lot more around me that I've not known about. I mean, I've got beautiful walks on my doorstep, the water on the doorstep. You know, we've had such a lovely time sort of experiencing a lot more things that were there that we never knew really were there. So that's been great.
No, this is
great.
brilliant. The universe gives us gifts if we recognise them.
Stephen, there is one person I want to go to. He's sitting in his garden with his sunglasses on. Don't hide your face, Chris Lee.
Unmute Chris Lee.
If you unmute Chris, because Chris used to be my boss.
Okay.
Well, yeah, only figuratively, because I used to tell him what to do. But Chris, it's wonderful to see you. We always used to have a great laugh together, working together.
We did.
And I just wanted, first of all, to say thank you and welcome.
Hello.
And other than allegedly supposing to be working, what have you been doing through this lockdown?
This is it. I mean, one of the things that lockdown's definitely taught me, I actually live in Clacton-on-Sea, so I'm quite lucky to be by the coast anyway, have the beaches and stuff like that on my doorstep. But, you know, we're out all the time with the dogs, and before lockdown, you kind of squeezing it in here and there.
Yeah.
I'm actually like your family, Stephen, are actually going to look at it in a very positive way, this whole lockdown experience, because it's just allowed me to slow right down, take a step back and just look at what actually means something to me. You know, do I want to be commuting into London 4 hours every day there and back, you know, 2 hours in, 2 hours home? Is it something I'm going to do longer term? And to be honest, the answer is no. You know, yeah. So many walks around here, like your family again. We've been down to this lovely village called Dedham. They've got a beautiful river going through it, and everybody's boating and the sun's shining. There's cows walking in the field and wildlife, and I've just taken the opportunity to kind of slow down, you know, take a step back and take everything in. I'm noticing so much more.
Can I just say, this is as laid back as I have ever seen you. Seriously. I mean, you know, Chris and I would work together and we'd be stomping through the department. He'd be rolling his eyes. I'd be rolling mine. Chris, you are so laid back, you're horizontal nearly.
Trust me, if I got any slower, I would be asleep. But no, I'm super chilled. It's so nice just to actually feel like this, you know, it's good.
Christina
yes.
Lar. Christina, are you from Down Under? You're Down Under still. I know you travel around the globe everywhere.
Yeah, no, I'm in Madrid at the moment.
Madrid?
Oh, she's in Madrid. Okay.
How are you, Christina? Because you're an uber talented individual.
Sorry?
You're an uber talented individual, always up to something. But what is the best thing that's happened to you this week, or this lockdown even?
Well, this week, I finally got to go out and go to a bar with friends after 3 months.
Wow.
We've yet to do that. How's that feel?
I don't even know anymore. Like, how does it feel to comb your hair and put a bra on and...
So you're looking beautiful. You always look beautiful, but you're back to looking uber beautiful, are you?
Yeah. So I came to Madrid because as I was touring in Australia and all the theaters started to close down and all the festivals started to get cancelled. So I thought I'm just gonna be stranded here with nothing to do in a land where I have like a couple of friends who are gonna be going back to their parents' house as well. So I just came here to stay as close to my family as I could.
Oh wow! So
near my sister.
If I can just explain, you're a professional procrastinator, aren't you?
Oh, this is another thing. Yes. So I have.
What on earth is that?
Well, you made a career out of being a procrastinator. Tell us, Christine.
No, so as you may or may not have noticed, I have an accent. So as an actress, I used to get very pigeonholed by agents, etc. And I decided to take my own career, take the control of my own career and of my own narrative as well. I didn't want to be put forward to, token stereotypical roles that didn't stretch anybody's minds. And I wrote a show about something that I thought would be very universal, that anyone could relate to regardless of their nationality or religion or race or cultural background or whatever, which is procrastination.
Mm-hmm. You actually finished it, didn't you? So it's
yes,
quite ironic.
I put the show between 2018 and 2019, and then I transformed the show into a book. So this is something as well. I finished the book now. It's completely edited, completely reviewed now from the copy I gave you. Is a bit different, and yeah, it's ready to be sent to editors, to agents, etc.
Wow, so well watch out then. You've taken advantage of the lockdown and you're going to take over the world when life returns to normal. So we're going to wrap up nearly, but Kaie, we got some time. One more bit of nice news.
We were talking about the nice news, sometimes the horrible news, and we despair for humanity. But we really shouldn't despair for humanity. The University of Ohio State recently did an online study of 700 people. And of those 700 people, they said, right, we want you to donate to a cause. Just give people money or give them, food basket or whatever. And they thought they were going to hear, okay, well, if I hand this over, what's in it for me? So how many people do you think actually said, what's in it for me? 0. Nobody wanted anything in return. They just wanted to be able to give back. They just wanted to be able to help their fellow man. What I found really interesting in this particular study is that I think 2/3 of the people who were questioned in this online study had actually gone out and taken part in protests against police brutality, protests with the Black Lives Matter groups that were going on, knowing full well that they themselves would be subject maybe to ridicule from friends and family, maybe even subject to police brutality. But their overriding thing was, we want to help and we don't care what happens to us necessarily, as long as we can help our fellow man. So I thought that would be a good story for us to end off with.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, we live in a kind universe, and we're so bombarded with the lie is that we don't, and we're told by the media, newspapers, television, that there's all this drama and constant chaos. Brexit is going to plummet us into economic collapse.
Not the B word. Not the B word.
Now the COVID. But if you actually look at your life, not this dramatized global world, but look at your life that's happening around you. People are kind. People want to help, and that is our lives. No, that's brilliant.
Thank you all so much for being here. As I say, you have the choice of being anywhere this Monday evening. You chose to hang out with Mr. Happiness 2009, and for that we are truly, truly grateful. Truly.
Yeah, if I could just ask that you become conscious, doesn't it make you feel good by focusing on the positive? I feel the buzz, you feel the buzz, we all feel the buzz. That is how you get happy. Just focus on positive stuff for 17 seconds or more, and positive emotion kicks in.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much. So you can follow us. The links are going to appear below on the screen. You can email us any stories or any contributions you want to make. You can join our meetup group, where if you want to be on the show in future weeks, we send out to you information about the kind of stories that and the kind of topics that we're going to look at, and ask you to say how you can contribute. And you can
please pass these links on to your friends and family, because we're sharing good stuff with you. We want to be able to share it with as many people as we possibly can. Joining the meetup group is free, following us is free, and you get the benefit of having some really good stuff happen to you at least once a week.
Yeah, and it is so important to celebrate the good. As one wise man said, be the change you want in the world. And if we can choose happiness over negativity. We will infect others and make the world a happier place. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.